Hey everyone, Infinitecaz here, and welcome back to another video. Today, I will be talking about my experience getting max freshness with the Hydra splatling, which is my first weapon in the game to do so. While I have talked about the Hydra splatling in Splatoon 2 quite a lot, I just want to talk about it in this game, and also discuss the freshness system, if I like it, and possible improvements. This will be a pretty chill, on-directional video, so with that being said, let's get right into it. So if you know anything about me, I am a certified Hydra splatling enjoyer. It's been a weapon I've played since 2018 I believe, and it's been a weapon I just feel good playing. I was a tad nervous when coming into Splatoon 3, hoping that the Hydra would be strong, and after playing this weapon a lot, it still feels really solid in my opinion. It feels very similar to the Hydra in 2. However, naturally, it has to navigate around an entirely new weapon and map landscape. I think in general, the Hydra benefits from the different style of map design in the game. For example, Mahi Mahi Resort, while we can all agree the map is badly designed, the way that its design is implemented can work to the Hydra's advantage, especially in zones. It's so easy to camp zone and pick off shorter ranged opponents when they try to get into your range, and the lack of any flank routes means you won't have to worry about being surprised from behind. There is also enough cover so you can stay out of the range of longer ranged opponents and their specials. However, some maps do work against you, especially if an E-liter is on the opposite team. Let's say, when it comes to playing the Hydra, the last thing you want to see on the opposing team is that weapon. Especially on maps like Brinewater Springs that have gnarly sight lines that you really can't contest with. This is the main issue the Hydra faces in my view, as doing well with this weapon can be very matchup dependent. If one of your opponents is a very good E-liter, you are in trouble. However, the Hydra is also lucky in my view, as it excels in matchups against basically all shooters, which are by far the most common weapon class in the game. I think the good matchups outweigh the bad when it comes to the Hydra, although you really get walled out by the E-liter in particular. I do run into E-liters fairly rarely though. Usually, I'm met with a heavy or a ballpoint splatling if the opposing team is using a backline, and that's just because in my view, the way Splatoon 3 plays is not a very easy space for chargers. I think this does affect the Hydra in a way, but less so. Being a splatling works to your advantage in more ways than one, and playing the Hydra discourages me from playing chargers, as I feel like the Hydra gives me enough of a backline with a fast kill, but with a lot less time needed to actually get good with this weapon. For me, I could only see myself use a charger if it was the E-liter on a map that really benefited its extra range. But even if on paper the E-liter would be a better play, I would usually just stick with my trusty Hydra to get the job done, as I just don't feel comfortable enough with chargers to use them effectively. But maybe in the future my opinion could change. In terms of kit, I think it's decent. I don't think a damaging bomb on the Hydra is super useful in general, because a full charge takes 35%, and you can't quickly follow up with your main weapon once you use your bomb as a way to trap people. Using an expensive bomb just feels clunky, and this is felt somewhat with the auto bomb. However, I feel like it does have its uses. The better use in my opinion is its ability to scope out an area, which allows you to know if someone is sharking, and if they are, what kind of direction they are in. Being a cheaper bomb, you can throw two with only a main and a sub of sub saver up on your gear, and this can apply a decent amount of pressure to a place your main weapon could have trouble with. However, I do think in general, you are better off applying support with your main, unless you need the locating ability of the bomb, and more often than not, I forget to use my sub-weapon in game. This is why I think a passive sub like the ink mine worked with the Hydra. So while auto bomb is not terrible, I don't think it's necessarily a good fit. In contrast though, I think the Booyah Bomb is a much better special, although I will admit I prefer the custom Hydra Splatling's ink armour in 2. Booyah Bomb I find useful for regaining control and flushing out the opposition, and since the Hydra isn't that good a painter, it can be really useful in zones and such to take back the objective, especially as the Hydra itself is not a great painter, and can struggle with contesting the zone if you don't have support. I do think the special can be underwhelming if you don't use it correctly though. A stray Booyah Bomb does nothing, but like any special, good time and placement does get results. The Booyah Bomb works well with the Hydra, as you don't need to drastically reposition to use it, which can leave you vulnerable if your special is aggressive. I really hope we get a second good kit for the Hydra soon. I think modelling it off the custom Hydra from 2 would be great. Personally, I would really like Ink Mine and Big Bobbler, but I'm open to trying whatever Nintendo gives it at least. Any new Hydra kit is worth trying. To segue into what I fundamentally learned playing the Hydra in Splatoon 3, this weapon does have a defined niche, but it fills said niche very well. The Hydra is slow and can struggle on Rainmaker and Clam Blitz, where the objective's position does not predictably move. However, I will say I went on a winning streak with the Hydra in Clam Blitz after I wrote this, so don't discount those 2 modes fully. However, in tower control and splat zones, I feel much more comfortable using this weapon, and it can put in a lot of work without having to constantly reposition. However, as a Hydra player, I realise that I can't just play this weapon if I want to do well across all 4 game modes and every map in the game. However, as it's a splatling, I feel like it's very easy to pick up weapons like the Heavy and Ballpoint, which are much more mobile and can fill in the gaps that the Hydra struggles with. Keeping awareness of potential flankers is important, along with knowing what matchups you can and can't win. Knowing when not to engage is also important. Does the opponent have a reef slider and you don't have a charge? Probably best to back up so you don't get taken out. Then, wait to splat them once they are in a more vulnerable position. I do think you can struggle to win if your team won't support you, at least in paint. However, this is not exclusive to the Hydra, and is just an annoying thing about playing more support-orientated weapons in general. To conclude, I would say most advice I have given about the Hydra in 2, minus its special, applies here. It's a very rewarding weapon to get good with, and I'm happy to have a 5-star badge to show the work I have dedicated to playing it. So to briefly touch on the freshness mechanic, overall I think it is a good idea, as it gives a tangible reward to people for playing a weapon, and it encourages you to try out a variety of weapons by offering Sheldon licenses for your first star. Having banner badges for the higher 2 levels allows you to proudly display your devotion to said weapon to the rest of the world, and I think these rewards are a really nice way to congratulate players who have played a lot with a particular weapon. I mean, on average it's about 60 hours of gameplay to get the full 5 stars, so seeing that 5-star badge leads you to know that this person is going to be pretty dang good with said weapon. I remember the feeling getting my 5-star badge with the Hydra, and just having that goal to work towards felt really awesome, and I certainly prefer it over the medal system in Splatoon 2. I think basing it off winning games versus turf inked makes it easier for weapons with lower paint to gain freshness quickly, and I think the milestones chosen for each star is reasonable, with 5-star being tricky to get, but not needing 100+ hours of grinding. I do have a couple tweaks I would make to the system however. I think maybe once you get 5 stars, say every 500,000 or million freshness, you could get something like a mystery box, or a free roll on the shell out machine. I think having a system in place that could reward people for getting very high freshness, even if the reward is pretty minimal, would be a harmless addition at worst. In addition, I think having more points gained by you in losses, especially if you get golden medals, for example, could be helpful. I think gaining so little freshness for a loss is a little unfair, but honestly I feel fairly ambient about this. I could see an argument being made for this either way. And that's all for now, and thank you so much for watching until the end. Have you got 5 stars on any weapon yet? What was it like? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. With that being said, please like and subscribe as it really helps me out. We are really close to 2,000 subs and I would love to have you here. With that being said, I will see you all next time. Bye!